Where you been, Zach? It's been forever, Zach. You haven't made a video in over a month, Zach. I'll tell you where I've been. I've been working on this paper computer game. So this is called The Maze. It is my new paper computer game. I have been working on this for way too long, you guys. You don't understand. This started as a little idea. I'm like, oh, I can do that quick, right? I'll just, this is gonna be simple, right? No. This was not quick idea. As happens with me, it got way too ambitious, but yeah. I'm gonna show it to you today, and this is it. This is The Maze. Now, you may be aware there is also a paper computer game called The Maze, made by Epic Worlds PCG. This one has nothing to do with that. It's a pure name coincidence, completely unrelated in any way to that game. I did put a few references into it here and there. I mean, you might see like one or two things that are this. I think there's like a character or two from that game in it. Also, it does have the same main character as that game, Bernard. In addition to that, it does take place in the same maze and feature all the same. Yeah, so basically it's a complete remake of that game. So yeah, this is a remake of Epic Worlds PCG's The Maze, and it's called The Maze, much like the original. This is The Maze. Let me show you The Maze. So this paper computer game starts off a lot like the original. So it starts off at the beginning. So this is you. You are Bernard, because, that was Bernard was the character you're playing as in the original. And you have to enter this maze. And as soon as you enter, there's a Zuvak statue. Now, this Zuvak statue is, it's not the actual Zuvak. It's a statue of Zuvak. But if you touch it, you can get the actual Zuvak to sort of, be teleported here so that he can join you on this adventure. But that's optional. That's if you want to. But I mean, who wouldn't want to? Am I right? So then you go forward over here. Now this is a troll. The troll he's just like very menacing. He's just like, get out, get out. And he's going to try and attack you with his big club. There's a lot of different ways to deal with this guy. You can basically fight him, get past him. This over here, there's like a lever behind him. And in the original video, Epic says he doesn't remember what this lever does. But today, you're going to find out what that lever finally does. So up here, there's this fountain. This is not in the original game. None of this stuff is in the original game. But if we were to follow the path that the original game follows, you would go down this way, and that's where you find vicious vines that can reach out and try to attack you. You have to try to find a way to get past those. The thing is, in this game, you can actually go around. There's an alternate path. Now, if you do get past the vines, if you keep going this way, that takes you here. So, all right, we're faced with a crossroads over here. So this path just goes back up to where we started. But over here, we can find something interesting. This was not in the original game. So we've got over here, these are sort of like snails that are crawling around on the ground. And we find out that what the snails are doing is that there's this weird, sort of purple stuff that's welling up from a hole in the ground. And the snails are coming here and eating the purple stuff. And then once they're done, they come over here and they sort of excrete this weird pinkish stuff. And so the pinkish stuff is sort of soaking into the bushes here. And that's what's kind of feeding these vines, and it's what's making the vines so vicious and deadly. So if you can find a way to disrupt this, you can actually kind of disable the vines, at least on this side of the path, and that will make it easier to get past there in the future. Now over here, there's something interesting. So this guy over here, this is a weird little guy. He's, sort of like a cloaked figure. And as soon as you see him, he's gonna sort of scurry into the bushes and you'll lose sight of him. He can't, you can't catch up to him. There's just nothing you can do. You lose sight of him. Now, before we go further into the maze, I do just want to point out, so what this lever actually does is, it does two things. One of the things I'm going to keep mysterious for now, but the other thing is that it actually opens a staircase on this statue. So this is sort of like a statue almost looks like a minotaur type figure, sort of holding up this weird little staff. There's these snakes on either side, and, you know, water's coming out of the snakes' mouths. It's a fountain, you know, like these are statues that are pouring water back into the fountain. But a staircase opens up here, and if you have pulled that lever, and if you did, it takes you down here. So this staircase comes out right over here. And if you go down here, we can see more guys like this guy that we saw before. We find out that these guys are called members of the Dank. That's what they're called. And they are, these are sort of like half-built walls. It's sort of like they're like trying to set up, like to turn this open area into more of a maze. So it's like this area is kind of under construction. And all of these members of the Dank, they're sort of like cold to you. Like they'll answer like maybe very basic questions, but they're not going to be that interested overall. They're sort of like just obsessed, like sort of their eyes are kind of glazed over. They're just obsessed with, you know, building this maze. They also just feel kind of confused, right? Like if you ask them for directions to things, like they don't have a clear sense of direction, like as if something is confusing them. But if you try to, like, you know, pin them down, like they're not interested in that. Like they just like will go deeper and deeper into their sense of just kind of being lost. The thing is, when you're down here, you kind of feel a little confused as well. It's like you're feeling it the whole time you're in the maze, but down here especially, there's like a sort of a sense of confusion in this underground area. Like even though it's just one big open area, it's kind of easy to lose your way. And as you go forward over here, so this is a wall that surrounds this area. You can't get out of that right now. But if you go forward into here, that's when that feeling of confusion just takes over entirely. And you just kind of, you know, give yourself over to it. And yeah, that's just a game over. You're just going to like completely turn. You don't turn into one of the Dank literally, like, because they're like, they're sort of a thing, but you become like them in terms of how confused you are, and like your eyes kind of glaze over. That's a game over basically. So you have to save game. But okay, like, so this area right now, it's an under construction area, and this is basically just a preview of what's coming later. But if we go back upstairs, we get back to what's over here. We find that over here we find the fat guy. Now, the fat guy, as we've seen in many other paper computer games, he is blocking your path. Now, you have to find a way to get past him. Right at the moment, he is kind of sleeping. So the only thing you can do is that if you'll notice on the first screen, right when you start, there is actually a machete, and there is also a dead tree. So you can actually use the machete to cut some pieces off of the dead tree. And then if we come back here to the fat guy, we can use that wood to, you know, build up like a bridge sort of over the fat guy, and then you can get over him and you can continue on to the next screen. So from there, we come up here. So this is the next screen. So we have the paths going all the way up here. There's a path that curves off that way. Over here, like this is a path that comes back down to this screen. And over here we can see there's a little puddle over here. This is a puddle that if you look into it, you can kind of see an image of another situation. This is actually the screen from my paper computer game, The Ancient Secret Under Shri, because that's a maze screen and it has the fat guy as part of the maze. It's just a little Easter egg because if you'll notice in this game, every one of the screens we've encountered has one of these little puddles, and in the puddle, if you look into it, it has a scene from a different maze screen in a different paper, you know, throughout paper computer game history. So like here on the first screen, we've got this puddle, and that has in it the maze screen from Chris's PCG Till Time Do Us Part. And then over here, obviously, The Ancient Secret Under Shri, because that's a fat guy screen, so that fits this screen as well. Then over here, to this screen we just came from, you can see the tangled maze of paths from Malfoy the Mailbox Bot, Kurt's PCG, which is, you know, it's not really a maze screen in the traditional sense, but it feels like a maze, so that's what this is a reference to. But anyway, there's different paths that lead in different directions. The way it would have gone if you had followed the path that the original game went is if you go up here this way, and it will take you... So far, we went up this way, past the vines, past the fat guy. We went up this way and through this curvy passageway. And now we find ourselves confronted by this weird alien. Now, this is an alien. We've seen this alien species before in my PCG, Gyphobaz, and in a spin-off, The Misadventures of This Guy by someone else. And in the original version of The Maze by Epic, this guy is here. But anyway, he is sort of confused as to why he's in this maze also. He is starting to, get kind of lost, but he is also going to be hostile to you. So you're going to have to find a way to get past him. There is a path, another one of those puddles. There's a path that goes off this way. Now, over here, stuck in the hedges, because these walls are all this is a hedge maze, essentially. These are all just really, really tall hedges. But anyway, stuck in the side of the hedges is this guy. Now, this guy is named Teddy. He's a very important character from Paper Computer Games history. Some of you will already know why. He has a very famous alter ego, but that's another story for another day. The point is, he is stuck in this hedge. I mean, you can get him out, and if you help him, he will accompany you for the rest of this adventure and sort of become, an ally. But over here, there's like a door that's locked, and pretty much you can just put your machete in it, and then the door will open, and that will lead you here. That brings you over here. We've got another puddle that is, I believe this is the maze from Epic's PCG demo game Danny's Quest, which is a pretty cool maze. You can actually see Zubak there in it. So notable feature in this screen is that there's just this giant pipe with fire coming out of it, and it's just coming nonstop. So what can you do about that? Well, first of all, it's not going to change direction, so you can just kind of walk around it. The problem is that, if you try to walk around it like this, there's just a locked door over there. You can't get any further. But you will notice there's actually a key on top of the pipe. So what you have to do is you have to come around this side, get the key, then come back around here and use it to open the door. Now, that happens in the original game, but this is new. Once you get through the door, you can see that there's a member of the Dank over here who's actually controlling this pipe. If you ask him why, he doesn't even know. His eyes are just so glazed over. He's he's become so lost in the maze that he doesn't even know what he's doing anymore. But anyway, so yeah, over here, if we come around here, there is a little rock. A few things to note on this screen. There are a few interesting tidbits as well, like that. If you were playing as if this was the original game, you would have just come through the door and then gone straight through there, and that's it. So the rest of these paths here are new. So this one leads over here to this sort of goes over this path. And if you go here, you can find a weird little ball over here. Now, if you would come from over here, you can go under this and come up here. This leads to nothing, but there is all these rocks piled up. And a lot of people might not realize what you're supposed to do with that, which is fine. You don't have to do anything with this. But if you do, it's a neat secret that you can actually scramble up these rocks. That's a secret, because then you can get on top of the hedge maze and you can walk around for a bit. But that is, you don't have to worry about that for now. So anyway, let's continue as if we were playing the original game. So if we went through here, then we would go this way. Over here, that's a troll, but and he's guarding a lever, but we don't have to worry about that for now. So if we follow the path of the original game, it takes us around here, and over here we find like a soccer ball, and there's like a net, and there's like a goalie guarding the net. There's also like a little note here. So in order to get past this, you might think you have to score a goal, but instead of that, you have to get the ball and hit him and push him into the goal, and then that's how you get past this. Then like this door is gonna open. By the way, over here there is a note, and if you read it, it just says, if you read this, you die, and then you do actually die if you read it. But you can just say save game, so it doesn't matter. That's just a little trolling thing, I guess. That was in the original game, so the original game is exactly 100% canon to this. This is just fleshing that out a little bit. So anyway, if you get past that, then that takes you... it's all falling apart. Oh god. The maze's integrity must be preserved. No. Maze. Oh, I see the problem. It's pushing against that. Let's just... All right. So yeah. If you go past here, then you finally get out of the maze. And then you come here, just like in the original game, we see these two robot guys, and they are guarding this space plane thing. And if you get up to here, you will be, brought onto the plane, and that is the end of the game. So congratulations, you beat the game. That's that. That's the end of the game. You have officially beaten the maze. The end. That's all I've got to show you. Bye. Or at least that's how the original version ended. You can just stop the game there. You can just stop there, and then that'll be that. And that's fine. You can beat that. That does count as beating the game. So if you do that, you can beat the game. But there is a little bit more of the maze to explore than just that this time around. So let's explore a little deeper, if you dare. So if we go all the way back the way we came, we go back here, back past the fire, past the alien. And what if we try to go down one of these passages? Well, if you try to go down this way, you'll soon discover that you start to get lost. Your eyes start to go fuzzy, you get confused. You're like, which way was I going again? And you just sort of start to lose yourself. And that's a game over, right? So you can't go over here yet. Like something is... Like, the further this way you go, the more confused and lost you feel in this maze. So, okay, if we go back around the way we came, climbing over the fat guy again with our planks, and we come over here, obviously there's that passage underground, but there are also passages that go off this way. So, what about that? Well, alright, well, so we can go, let's say we go down here. And that takes us over here. Good chink. So this passage takes us to this locked door, so we can't get in there yet. But we've got a puddle over here that is a reference to my recent PCG Troll, The Unending, which is pretty fitting because on this screen we find that there is sort of a whole colony of trolls, right? We've got a troll over here guarding this little area over here where there's like a purple sphere. There's a troll over here and he's guarding this area. This is like the living space for the trolls. There's like a big sort of like communal bed over here. There's like clubs and potions that they're using. There's like another troll. Here's some troll children. There's a troll over here guarding these two paths that go off this way. Now this is kind of like a higher area. This is like a high rise. You can get there from this screen. This is just this path. And up here there's a slingshot. You can come here and get it, and then you can jump down to here if you want. You can proceed up that way. That is going to take you over here. Now, over here, once again, we can find another area. Like if we go over here, this is one of those snails that we saw before over here, one of these guys. And then if we go over here, we can see lots more of these snails because there's another one of those, holes in the ground with this purple stuff coming from it. And the snails are once again creating this pink stuff, which is making the vines get violent and, like sort of come to life. I mean, I know vines are already alive, but you know what they mean. You know what I mean. Anyway, so you can do that. That helps you get, like, if you stop the pink stuff, that helps you get past these vines over here. And you can get up here. That's where our puddle is. This is like the tree maze. That's from my PCG No Mythos. But anyway, if we go over here, if you had come up this passage, you can see this person. That guy is just like lost in the maze. He's just like an innocent bystander, right? This guy's just like, can you help me? I've been wandering around here for hours. I haven't been able to find my way out. I just want to get back out the way I came. So his eyes are starting to get fuzzy. They're starting to get glaze over. The more hopeless he gets, the more despair he feels at being lost in the maze. But if you want, you can take him with you, and then you can like try to help him get out of the maze as well. So if we go over here, we find that is leading back to this sort of central screen that we couldn't get to before, because once again, there's something over here emanating that doesn't really let us go over there. But we can follow one of these paths, and that will take us up to here. Dun dun dun. So this area is interesting because, so remember over here we saw this alien dude, right? Now that dude, like, he's just there. Now ask yourself, why is there a random alien in the midst of a maze, right? We saw this guy in the original game, but it was never clear why he's here. We know he's lost in the maze, but how did he get here, right? Well, now we know from the next screen over, from over here, that, well, over here there's some trolls, right? You can see, like, that's just one of the trolls we've seen before. Here's another one of the trolls. He's got a trap. Both of these trolls are guarding these weird sort of blue crystals. So you're going to have to get past them if you want to get to those crystals. Then over here we have this is sort of a puddle, another one of those puddles, and this one is showing the maze screen from my PCG, The Last of the Zerelta. That's a classic maze screen. There's like sort of like a UFO at the bottom of it. And then we find a crashed alien starship. Yeah, that's right. There is an alien craft right here in the middle of this maze. See, the aliens came here because they were investigating some weird energy readings. And their energy readings, like, this has been a mystery that these aliens have been investigating, because they've found energy readings similar to this in mazes all across the galaxy, right? And so they came here because this place had the strongest of this kind of energy reading that they've found so far. And that's why they're here. That's what led them to this maze. So something interesting is going on about this maze. So the aliens, when they got close, something made them crash land. So they crashed here, but their mission is still to find a way to scientifically understand what's going on in this maze and get to the bottom of the energy signatures. And they do think that the energy is coming from this area at the middle over here. So, okay, so what you have to do, these aliens have set up 3 devices, they tell you. The first one, they've already activated, so that one's turned red because it's activated. And then that's what these other 2 crystals are, this one and this one, all right? So once you activate all 3 of those crystals, it will create a stone that they'll give you, and you can carry it with you. It will help you get deeper within the sort of, that sort of confusion, that feeling of being lost without losing your sense of direction, right? It's not perfect. It won't protect you forever, but it's a temporary, it'll help you get deeper. And so once you do that, you can get deeper. You can go here and you can go into the center area over here where we find this. Now, there isn't really anything super special about this area. This is just like, all it is a statue, right? This is just a really big statue. It's kind of similar to this statue, which is at the screen south of it. You remember this Minotaur looking guy with his weird, kind of horns. This guy has 3 horns, so he's a little bit different. It's a very sort of related kind of guy. Over here we've got a puddle. This one is from Pierre's PCG Genesis. There's also a member of the Dank over here, but he will scurry away if you try to approach him. So the main thing you'll notice over here is that there are these 4 sort of lights on the base surrounding the statue, right? The blue stuff is, you know, water, obviously. But yeah, so those 4 lights are, right now, they're not lit up. So, in order to light them up, what happens? Well, you will notice if you go over here and if you go around there and you pull this lever, this light will light up. So, in order to light up all the lights, you have to find the 4 levers. So that was the first one. The next one is actually if you come all the way around here and we go all the way back up and back past the fire, we find that this second lever is being guarded by the troll. So you have to get past that troll and then you can press that lever and then that will light up this light. Then remember, we saw at the beginning there was a lever down here at the very beginning, the one that Epic didn't remember what it does. It opened the staircase. But if we push it back the other way, that's going to light up this light. All right, so the final lever we can find over here, but it is behind this locked door. So in order to get to that, we're going to have to find a key. Where could there be a key in all of this maze? I'll give you a second to find it. Can you find it? 3, 2, 1. There we go. Oh, hey, there it is. All right. So yeah, if you get this key, and by the way, that's hard to notice because when you're actually playing this game, you won't have it all laid out like this. You're going to be looking at one screen at a time, remember, right? So if you're over here and you see that key, you can't get to it. You have to first come to this screen and then come back. And that assumes that you've already done all that stuff. But yeah, so you get the key, you come back around here, and then you hit that lever, and the final light lights up, and a staircase opens in the base of this. So, where does that take you? Well, it takes you back to this same screen we were on before, underground, right? Except now we're not in here. We come down here. This is like a huge closed door. And the closer you get to it, the more confused you feel and the more lost you feel. There's like an emblem of a maze, you know, diagonally on the door. We can see lots of the Dank are moving around, kind of, you know, shuffling around, doing construction stuff. These two are carrying a wooden board between them. This is one of the houses of the Dank. That's another one. There's like a pile of wooden boards over there. And there's sort of these weird mazy walls. So it's like underground, in this weird underground zone. The Dank have just been building these just sort of non-stop walls. These just non-stop kind of mazes, you know, like just non-stop building maze, more and more and more maze underneath this gigantic maze. Now, the entirety of the underground maze is not explorable in this game. That would be too much. And sort of the point is that the Dank are just sort of infinitely building it, right? They have become so lost in the maze over centuries that feeling of despair, of being lost, of not being able to be found, they've started to actually want to be more lost. They've started to make themselves more lost and more despairing by building more and more maze around themselves. Whatever is affecting them is making them do that. But okay, over here we've got a puddle. So we continue down this way, and that leads to this sort of area. There's all these sort of more mazy passageways. We have another member of the Dank over here. That's his dwelling. And if we keep going, actually that leads us just back out here. So if we want to go over here, this is actually a staircase which leads back up to the overworld. And that staircase leads up into here. That's this sort of secret room over here. There's a troll over here. He's kind of like, it's a secret to everybody. And he's going to sell you items. This is actually a secret shop. He's selling a club, a rope, and a can of Slim Fast, which can be handy against the fat guy. Though if you've made it this far, you've probably already gotten past the fat guy. But, you know, you never know. If we go over here, that's a puddle. This puddle is a reference to PCG Anniversary Special 2, like Chris's recent, like, epic PCG. This is the underground maze in the Shadow Realm. That's, remember Ralph? Yeah, that's him. Anyway, so from down here, you can, once you visit all 4 of the Dank's huts, you can find the tools you need to get this door open. And once you do, you go in here. Dun, 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 dun. And this is the source of all of the maze energy. And if you remember, this is the same guy that the statue is of, right? It's this weird guy with the 3 horns. But that's a statue of the way he was millennia ago. He has now changed. So his physical form has broken, has sort of broken down. It's broken open. And see, the physical form is sort of like a host for this swirling energy itself. The physical being that he was just the host for this. This is kind of the embodiment of maze screens in paper computer games. This is what is causing the maze to form around him, what makes people feel lost and confused, what hypnotizes the Dank into working for him. This is the source of this maze screen, and it goes beyond that. This is the embodiment of energy that is throughout the universe. Everywhere there are maze screens just like this. He is spreading his energy through things he calls maze seeds. And the maze seeds go to different worlds. It finds places that are sort of mysterious or confusing and makes them more confusing and turns them into mazes. And his mazes are spreading over the universe until everyone in the entire universe is going to be lost forever and become the slaves to the confusion and being lost in one of his mazes. He is the boss of this game, and to beat him, you have to, defeat him. This is the final boss fight of the game. So, it is still like, there's still like mazy walls sort of forming around him, but in order to beat him, you have to like shatter the last pieces of his physical face, because those are the only links, his only links to this reality. Like, once those are shattered, it won't defeat him forever, but it will break his connection to this place, to this maze, and it will weaken him. And so it is going to be a battle, because he is very powerful. This swirling energy, if you get lost in that, you're like, whoa, you will like instantly, your eyes will glaze over, you will turn into one of the Dank, you will worship him. But if you can use the weapons you found along the way to shatter the pieces of his face, he will break. And then, that will defeat him. And little by little, it may take decades or centuries, but once he's beaten, the maze will start ever so slowly to break down, to evaporate. And, at first, it'll stand for a while. This is a physical structure, it's not just made of his energy. But without it, it's going to become just an ordinary place, and eventually nature will, claim it, people will come and bulldoze parts of it, and the maze will just be forgotten. And once you've done that, you can go back and, proceed out the front door and leave the way the original game had you do. But we have learned a lot. This maze has been built up by many peoples over centuries, and there are people that have gotten lost in the maze just as, you know, this guy over here got lost in the maze, there's also another one over here that we didn't talk about before. This is another guy, and there's like a Dank sneaking up on him. You know, just like that, we didn't, you know, really talk about that, but a lot of people have been getting lost one by one in this maze over centuries, and a lot of them just never return. And some of them just die here at the maze's many threats, but some of them, you know, the more lost they become, the more they start to, you know, sort of almost worship the maziness of the maze, and ultimately worship that guy at the bottom of it that we just, you know, that we were fighting. And they are the ones who've been building and maintaining and changing the maze. The maze is dynamic. It evolves over the course of centuries. And if you hadn't gotten rid of it, it could have grown. It could have kept growing. It could have grown beyond this point and turned into an even bigger maze. Like an absurdly huge, well, maze. The Dank they're like a race that have been formed out of people who have gotten lost in the maze over many centuries, and they've just never come back, and they've formed into a people with their own, you know, distinct, you know, culture and ideology. It's become like a cult that worships the embodiment of the maze energy, but their whole culture is to service the maze. And you might find them elsewhere in the universe as well. Anywhere where there are mazes, you might find some of the Dank. Now, one interesting piece about this is that we met this troll in the beginning. That was the troll that was in the original game. And since that, we've met multiple trolls over the course of the maze. But it turns out the trolls are the only sane ones here. Because the trolls are, like, they figured out what's going on here in this maze. Like, they don't understand why this is happening or whatever, but they did come to understand that something makes you get lost in this maze. Something makes you lose yourself. And they've seen this happen to a lot of people. And that's why they're so hostile to you. They want you to get out of the maze. And if you don't get out of the maze, if you insist on continuing onward, the way they see it is like, all right, this guy's already dead, right? He's already lost. And the more people get lost in the maze, the more powerful the maze becomes. It's sort of like a spider's web, you know? The more people get lost in the maze, the stronger, the bigger the maze gets. The people, their confusion is what feeds the maze. It's like the lifeblood of the maze itself. People being lost in it is what fuels this maze. And the trolls sense that. They see that it's growing. They see that this is a threat to all life around here. So they are desperate. They're in the maze, risking their own lives to keep other people out of the maze, to stop people from feeding it. And yeah, they are willing to kill people if they have to stop this maze from growing. So really, are they really the bad guys here? Are they really the bad guys here? I don't think they are. And you can actually, if you really want to, if you if you don't see them as enemies, like some players might get into troll society and like listen in on what they have to say. And the trolls are actually, you'll actually hear them talking about this, like talking about the people they find, and how the children are struggling with it because they don't want to hurt anybody, but the parents will be like, I know, but they're already lost. It has to. There's no other choice. And, they might be right. There's innocent people like this guy, but, who get lost in the maze. But a lot of them, they're so curious, they're so interested, it's hard to keep them from entering the maze to begin with. Of course, the fat guy's just a jerk. The fat guy's just, A few things to point out about this maze. First of all, we also have these, sort of purple circles. There's this one and then this one over here. And it turns out that if you get those purple circles, they actually give you a pretty cool power. You can actually if you have these, you can use the purples. They're like sort of glowing glass spheres. And if you hold them, you can actually reach into one of these puddles and you can grab an item from them. The funny thing about this is that the item will be shrunk. It'll be the size that it appears in the puddle, so not that big. For example, you can actually grab the fat guy, but it'll be a miniature version of the fat guy, and then you can do whatever you want with that. So that's a fun secret you can get. It doesn't really, change gameplay a ton, but I think it's a fun opportunity for creators to find things to do. Like, for example, over here you can get a mini, because in the original The Last of the Zerelta, there's like an alien spacecraft at the center of the maze. So you can get that, and hold like a little flying saucer in your hand. And I don't know, there's probably stuff you can do with that. Additionally, another thing I want to point out is that there's actually an alternate way to get into the secret room. If you don't want to get to it from below, you can also get up to it by climbing up onto there, and then you can actually walk around the perimeter of the maze, across this door, through here. You're going to have to hop across. So if two places are close together enough, you can hop across. I think the best bet is actually, you probably won't make it across this. The best bet is to go all the way around here. You can probably get across here where it's narrow, and then jump across here, and then you can just drop down into this area over here. So yeah, that's another fun secret that you can find. So yeah, I'm probably not covering everything, but there is a lot to explore in this maze. There is plenty to be done here. I do also just want to point out, the puddles. Each puddle match, or at least it tried to have each puddle match each screen. So this one is from Chris's first PCG, Till Time Do Us Part. That makes sense because this is the first screen. Additionally, Zuvak is on this screen, or at least a Zuvak statue where you can meet Zuvak. And Till Time Do Us Part is the game where Zuvak returned after PCG's being dead for many years. Of course, I'd already told you that one's because there's a fat guy screen there. This one is from Troll the Unending because there's trolls over here. This one, that one is from a tree from Gnome Mythos. That one I just think because there's a lot of plant life. I couldn't really find much of a justification, but I think it's just there's a lot of shrubs on this screen. This one is from The Last of the Zerelta because, alien flying saucer, and there's an alien spacecraft on this screen. This one is from Pierre's PCG Genesis, which isn't technically a maze screen, but like she said, it's her version of a maze screen. And this is the screen where that's the character you play as in that game, and there's the statue of Malkesense, which is it was just a puzzle in that game. You had to place something into the bowl in the hands of that statue, and then it opens a path. But this was at the center of a maze, and it's a maze you have to get to. Anyway, point is, that one makes sense because it's a statue, and there's a big important statue there, so that kind of matches. This one I just put here because with the complicated paths, this is sort of a lot of little paths going all over the place. This one over here, I think I put that one there by accident. I meant to put it underground, I think, because I was looking for a PCG by Epic, because this whole game is a remake of one of Epic's games, so it made sense to put some stuff by Epic here. And that one was supposed to be an underground one, but I think I accidentally got mixed up as to where I was supposed to put it and put that one above ground by accident. And then we have these two that are underground. This is let's see. This one we already talked about. This one was chosen because it's from another of Epic's games that was underground. And this one is also chosen because it's underground, because this one is from PCG Anniversary Special 2. That was at a part of the game where it was getting super epic and mysterious and whoa, we're underground and we're finally getting to, the bottom of some of the mysteries about the shadow. So it makes sense from this screen where we're getting to some of the bottom of the mysteries. And finally, if we go up here to this is the maze screen from the next paper computer game, which is upcoming, maybe, hopefully, we'll see, because this is the last real screen of the maze. This is the equivalent to the final screen of the original game, even though it's not really, because you have to, do all the other stuff and go down underground and all that. This is sort of technically the final screen of the game. So this is a preview of the next paper computer game, and that's you in a spaceship, like flying through and navigating some of these, you know, sort of cloud barriers. And yeah, from there you go on and you can leave the maze for good. And that is my new paper computer game. Whoa. The maze. So yeah, what do you guys think of the paper computer game? Let me know down in the comments what you thought. Thank you folks so much for watching. You folks are the best as always, and peace to you later. So yeah, this paper computer game took me way too long to make. It started as just a quick idea. I was like, hey, that'd be a fun thing to do. I can probably do that pretty quick in like a day or whatever. No, I was working on this thing for months. I kept getting further and further in it. It's one of those things where it got more ambitious as it went, and I ended up procrastinating on it for a long time, and then I finally got back to it. And once I finally got back to it, it still took forever. So yeah,